But now onto Call of the Wild.
Yes. So what was your initial reaction then?
Okay, so overall, I thought it's no high art.
No.
But I thought for what it was actually quite... It was an entertaining little bit of yarn. Flawed, but considering it's about a dog that just goes on like a family adventure kind of thing, it's fine.
Yeah. I thought it was fine. Like, we were... Just after we came out the cinema, me and Nick were discussing this, and I said I would give it 5 out of 10.
Yeah.
Very run-of-the-mill, like... It wasn't terrible, but it wasn't great. Like, it was fine.
No. But I think the main conversation to be had with it is about the dog.
Yeah, the
Adam
CGI
Dog.
dog. Adam Dog, a dog.
Yeah.
So, that was where I found myself laughing at bits that were supposed to be dramatic. And I think... I mean, I don't know, it's because they were trying to overly humanise this dog, but also the score and the camera movement and everything was so melodramatic, and at the end of the day you are watching a CGI dog, and it just made me laugh.
So this is the thing about humanising a dog, because I had similar thoughts when watching it about dogs don't act this way, this is too human. But then, of course...
There were a lot of bits like that actually... It was just like the plot wouldn't work without it, but it would be so much better if you... Especially, like... So, Harrison Ford's character, like... drinks the alcohol, and because he's a mourning father, like, oh, that's fine, and the dog's like, oh no, don't drink alcohol, and keeps taking his alcohol bottles. Like, the dog wouldn't know that. No dog would know that. It's just what why?
Well, exactly. Well, this is the thing, because then it's like, well, yes, but then if a story, because if they acted exactly like a real dog, then a lot of the story wouldn't work. And so I was reminded of things like, so for example, Finding Nemo. That's not how fishes act.
No, but then that's...
But that's the thing, because that's animation, so we give that the benefit of the doubt, like we are in a different universe. But I think because Call of the Wild is mainly live action, I think that's why it's more incongruous.
But also, they're trying so hard with the dog and the CGI to be photorealistic that when it does human things or non-dog-like things, it feels even weirder.
Yeah.
Which is why I said they should either have gone fully, made the whole thing an animation. Like you said, like, another Disney Frozen-esque thing where they could have done a full animation, and that would have worked a lot better. Because as we said, there's a lot of moments in this that are very cartoonish, that are trying to, make it the more family-friendly, but they're so different, they're so, out of place in the rest of the world, that it just feels silly and stupid and out of place.
Yeah, I found there was a problem specifically with, like, I guess, the weight of the dog.
Yeah.
Like, considering it's a St. Bernard Scotch sheepdog mix.
Yeah.
Like, it's an absolutely chunky dog.
Yeah, it's like it's a unit. Like, they're huge dogs.
And yet there are several scenes where it's, like, bouncing around in sort of quite an elastic, cartoony way. And I'm like, it's a massive dog. It wouldn't be able to jump like
also,
that.
there's bits where it's like, they just seemingly change its size, strength, energy to just fit whatever the story needs, and it's like so inconsistent. That annoyed me as well.
Especially when it's with the other dogs which are pulling the sled.
Yeah.
Is it pack dogs?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The sled dogs. Yeah.
Sled dogs, that's the word. Of course.
Yeah.
But, we see these other dogs which are, like, comparatively a normal size, and then there's absolute unit, and, like, yes, it's a big dog, but it's not this much bigger than other sled dogs, which are also normally big dogs.
Yeah.
Like, the head of it's a husky called Spitz.
Yeah.
Spitz. And huskies are big dogs.
Yeah, and he's like, half the size again of this dog. And
exactly.
So he's huge, but then at the same time, it's like the over-humanization was bad to the point where it withdrew from me, because at the end of it, like, it's an animal. It's supposed to be an animal. There's so many times where Buck is the dog's name. I don't think we mentioned that.
No.
Buck does these things, or doesn't do something that an animal would just absolutely do.
Yes.
It's like, it is a dog. So there's a bit early on where Buck gets kidnapped and he's on a train, and a character threatens to hit him with a stick, and then does hit him with the stick, and I think the dog you know, he's like growling and barking at him. It's like that dog would just go for you, and it's the size, you know, of the train. It could just absolutely have you. Why would it not do that? It's like, oh, because it's humanizing it. It's like, oh, it's teaching it to sit down. It's like, no, you've captured this dog. It would go mental and just rip your throat out.
Did you say Buck was the size of a train?
Yes.
I would love to see a film with like a giant train-sized dog terrorizing Milan.
Oh, that'd be cute.
Yeah.
Well, that's the other thing. There was a lot less than I thought there was, like, trying to make him really cute, like, cutesy as well. There was one moment where I thought he was going to do, you know, the Puss in Boots thing, massive eyes, but they sort of did that, but only for a couple of seconds. I was like, oh, okay.
But I thought that was quite good, because I was sort of afraid it would be too much like, oh, look at the doggy, look, it's a doggy. Oh, and I'm glad it didn't go that way.
Yeah, I'm glad it didn't as well, because I was a bit wary of that. Like, I thought the whole time it would just be like, oh, look how cute this dog is. And there was a couple of moments where you're like, oh, that's sweet, but it's still not like...
In fact, overall, because I mean, the dog is the protagonist.
Yes.
But I like that, even though he is like the centre of the film, this main USP, there's not too much of just like... They sort of just get on with it in terms of him being the lead protagonist. There's not as much as I'd feared, just general of like, look at him, he's being a dog. Look at him doing dog things. He's sort of like... That's almost the opposite of the problem. He's too human. He just is a protagonist of the story. Yeah.
Also, there was the weird magic black ghost wolf.
Yeah. It's a spirit guide.
It's spirit, yeah, but what?
Well, you know, it's
I guess
visual art
that's
form.
the call.
End credits.
Oh,
that's not a spoiler.
Yeah, sure. Harrison Ford was good.
Harrison Ford was good. I mean,
I think he was probably the best part of it, actually.
You reckon?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, the CGI was good and Buck was fine, but I feel like he elevated it.
Yeah, I mean, I thought there were points where his performance was quite hammy. Like when he was sending you the letter, when he stops the sled to be like, I've got another letter, I felt like he wasn't trying in that scene much. Well, later on, he was fine.
Yeah.
But that one, he seemed a bit like, have you got space for one more letter? It's for my son. I'm like, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. Early on, but then later, the more it got into it, I feel like he was very good. Also, he's in remarkably good shape for a 70-year-old man. Or
close to 80.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. I thought also the other thing I want to commend about the film is there's several sequences. There's one in particular of like when there's the sled dog scarf at the night and basically have a sort of a I guess a dog fight for power and sort of this husky
like deciding the alpha, isn't it?
Yeah. And the husky competes with Buck, and I found that sequence was actually quite essentially a silent cinema sequence. There's no dialogue at all unless you count barking and growling as dialogue, but I don't. But I thought that was actually because and even though there was a narration going, and now they compete to be the... I was like, yes, I know, I got that.
See, that moment, I feel like would have been so much better without the narration, but for me, the narration ruined it. Like because you have the narration was so melodramatic, and then the imagery on the screen was over the top. Like, you've got this bit of the dog going in and out, the dog pulls a stupid face, and it's like, oh my god. Yeah. And it just made me laugh because it was so silly. It's like, this is supposed to be like a pivotal important moment, and I was just laughing at it because it was like, this is dumb. In
particular, I think the husky's expressions were the ones that got me the most because they looked so comedically evil. It's just like, come on, it's a dog.
You're expecting him to twiddle his moustache.
Genuinely, there's points where he's like properly like furrowed his brow and he's got his ears like pointed down. It reminded me of the dogs in Up.
Yeah. Actually,
like I forgot my name of that one. Is it Omega? That dog's called the main black one.
Yeah.
It the same way that's designed, so it's like sharp points. This sort of like it looked like we're trying to do that with a husky, but it's a photorealistic husky, and huskies are adorable. Yeah,
but also in that same. Now we've compared it to Up, that just made me think like there were a lot of moments where I feel like the writers or whoever the directors really wanted the dogs to just talk.
I'm glad they didn't.
I'm glad they didn't as well, but it feels like they wanted that a lot. Do you know what I mean?
Sort of, yeah.
Especially when he's doing the pack and you get the dogs like looking at each other like, and it's like, are all dogs just super hyper intelligent regardless of breed? It's like, and then the narration's like, and now Buck knew more than his owners. It's like,
yes, he's
a dog.
But then this is going back to like, it's a film about dogs as the protagonists.
Yeah.
And kind of like, if they were just normal dogs, it wouldn't work. So it's sort of a bit of suspension of disbelief, which I don't mind.
I don't know. I mean, you are right, but I feel like it needed to do more to suspend your disbelief.
I think
like,
talking wouldn't have been it.
But I feel like they should have gone completely one way or completely the other, where they've got this weird mix.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
But I think what I did like about it was the going back to the science and the thing, the amount of detail of sort of emotion and communication they could convey with just sort of like facial movements and eyes and stuff on a dog. That was
So I think
animated.
Should commend how good the CGI was at points. There were a couple points where it was a bit iffy,
a bit rubbery, bit elastic at points. But
yeah,
I think that when it was doing sort of more like realistically doggy things, like sitting there, it was great. And the moment it started bouncing onto beds with the velocity of a bowling ball, was a bit more hard to believe.
Yeah, I feel like the CGI was amazing, and especially the fur detail. Like a lot of it, especially towards the end. Have you seen or played at Red Dead Redemption 2?
I've seen someone else playing it.
Yeah, like they've got like the photorealistic animals and stuff, and it felt like they'd just taken it from there, and spruced it up for a screen. Like it was really, really well done, but it did still feel quite video gamey.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I feel like there's almost going to be something unavoidable about the sort of the video gamey. Because especially with like modern photorealistic CGI and video games are essentially the same technology, so they're going to advance at about the same rate.
Yeah.
So I feel like the video games can look at best like a film and vice versa at any given point.
Yeah, I think you're right. Whereas I feel like the animals in Red Dead Redemption 2 feel a lot more in place because the humans and the whole world is computer generated.
Exactly, because it's a consistent, the same way with animation, when it's all consistent, you just go with it. But when there's two different styles going on at once, it's more hard to believe.
Which does bring us, should this have just been animated then?
Well, maybe as an adaptation of a story, but I think it's clear overall. The whole point of this film was to try out whether a CG dog could work for the whole thing.
Yeah.
Because the backstory to all this was, I think it's called A Dog's Purpose. It was a film that came out about 2017, 2018. And there was some behind the scenes footage of them forcing a dog into water when it didn't want to go. And there's a lot of animal rights got behind this, saying, we shouldn't force dogs and other animals to do this kind of thing on film. And it's like, why can't you just CGI it? So I think this entire film was a response to be like, okay, well, let's see what happens when we try to do a film about a dog. We'll take an old, tried and tested book that's famous and been done hundreds of times. So we've got the story and we'll just do it with a CGI dog, see what happens. And I think it's fine. It's a good experiment, but I don't think it's got much more to it than that.
Yeah. I feel like this film will be forgotten very quickly.
Yes. I think this is almost this is for the filmmakers as much as it was for an audience, just to see does it work.
I feel like it does work, and I feel like that's the future over animal cruelty, obviously. But as a proof of concept, I think it's good.
Yeah,
there were some good merits in the film. Like a lot of the sledding stuff was good, I thought. Other than the stupid avalanche scene, but we'll get onto that.
Oh, will we?
Yeah, we will.
We can get onto it now if you want.
Well, the stupid avalanche scene, Nick, it was dumb. It was, oh god. Basically, they're going over, I don't know what it is, like a snow plain, and then suddenly an avalanche starts coming down from the mountain. And the driver, who is shouting, oh, go left, and Buck sees his spooky ghost wolf friend and goes right instead. He goes right, and it takes him into a cave under the mountain, presumably safe from the avalanche, although the avalanche just follows them through, and Buck has to crash through a load of sharp icicles, and is completely fine. That's fine. Anyway, when they get out of the cave of safety, where are they? Still in looming threat of the avalanche. It feels like if they'd just gone left the whole time, they would have been completely fine. And it was so dumb because it's such forced drama.
But then how are they going to sell what is clearly going to be the new Disneyland called the Wild Ride, where you get taken by sled dog, not real sled dogs, but it'll be like a sort of a Star Tours style simulation thing where they I watched that scene and I was like, I can see it on an advertising now being like, come to Disneyland, Florida, where you can experience the dogs. But yeah, that did feel a bit
It just felt so.
It did
like,
feel artificial, yeah,
yeah.
like it's sort of just shoved in there.
But also, like,
But it's the call of the wild.
Well, yeah.
It's his instinct showing him the way through peril, but not really.
because
Yeah.
it just takes him slightly out of peril and then back into the peril when you could have.
Out of the frying pan into the same frying pan.
yeah, exactly. You could have just been out of the way the entire time, but it's like, nope. Okay. Also, he's again. Well, this is another problem with how strong is Buck, because he just smashes through these icicles and ice sheets and frozen lakes like they're nothing. You know, he just has absolutely no problem. But then when one human holds a rope around his neck, he seemingly cannot move. And it's like, in the scene previous to that, he is tied to a plank, you know, with screws in the wall, and he just pulls the screws out of the wall and is fine. And then the scene following that, some chump in a pub just holds him back.
I think they're called saloons.
Well, yeah. And he can't do anything. And it's like, so again, just inconsistency. Inconsistency is just annoying. Again, I've said I've liked it and spent the entire time slagging it off.
Well, again, I mean, I think the merits of the film in terms of it's clearly a sort of a indestructible story that's lasted all this time, you know, has that sort of appeal. So I think the reason the story works is because it is just it's good source material.
Yeah.
But I think it is well made and well directed.
Yeah, there was no the problems I have with it aren't story based, aren't direction based. I mean, there's a couple of acting things, but
There's mainly sort of just execution of the dog.
Yeah, and that's just inconsistency with the CGI over anything else.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought it was good overall.
Yeah. I thought it was fine. I think it's not really like, you know, a must see at all. But if you've got some kids and you want to take them, it's a fun afternoon out.
Yeah.
And I think if you're interested in sort of the progress of CG animation and stuff, it's also worth looking to see where we're at.
See, now like this compared to The Lion King, this feels a lot more like this is where it should be used.
Yes.
Because they're replacing a dog, you know, for the animal cruelty reasons, and because like the CG dog works better than a real dog would have in some cases here. Whereas in Lion King, it's just a load of old bollocks, isn't it?
Yeah.
But then it's also interesting that this is one CG character, but we both, well, I can't remember if you liked it or not, but The Jungle Book, where that's one human character and everything else is CGI. And that's live action, inverted commas. Yeah.
Wow. I mean,
We've gone back to this point because we both get triggered.
Well, I mean, I think the other thing as well is because the Jungle Book is, again, that's originally a novel, nothing to do with Disney. And the Disney animation was just but one adaptation, while the new one did the same story but did something new with it. It did a new direction.
And they changed it and they expanded on some bits.
Unlike The Lion King. That's one of the reasons The Lion King, if they're going to do it photorealistic, do something different. Could do it like Call of the Wild, the silent sequences. And just have no dialogue, no singing, just have the drama play out like a realistic like animal just with growls and stuff. Make it a silent film if you're going to go that route. But just taking the exact same script as before and then just changing the animation.
Yeah.
That's what annoys me about it, because that's a pointless, that's such a waste of resources. Do something interesting. But I think that's why The Lion King rubbed us up the wrong way so much, while Jungle Book was okay.